Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 44. He's Dave Bryan, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. Dave, how you doing? How was your weekend without some Steelers football?
Gloom, despair, and agony on me. I went and got a flu shot and a shingles shot. It's kind of things that you're supposed to do once you get up there in age, ancient age there. And boy, those things took me down. So I've been kind of fighting through what's kind of felt like the flu for the last couple of days. But I did get to at least sit around and watch a lot of games and all, and actually get some written work done, kind of thing. So overall, not bad. I guess it sure would have been better to go through these last couple of days had the Steelers registered a victory Thursday night, but that of course didn't happen.
It'd also be nice to see them get some help around the AFC, but it feels like every week you lay out your rooting guide and it goes the opposite way that you wanted to and you hoped it would, but we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. Dave, as you said, not a whole lot going on this weekend in terms of Steelers news, in terms of their play. We talked about it on Friday's show, but do have some roster moves to talk about, and that's where we'll start. Steelers have made a pair of roster moves that came over the weekend. They have signed wide receiver Deon Cain and running back Kerrith Whyte to the 53-man roster, and in corresponding moves have released on the yo-yo again J. Rowan Elliott, the outside linebacker, and Tony Brooks-James, the running back. So Cain and Whyte, couple interesting guys. I know the Steelers had interest in Whyte coming out of college this year, had a pre-draft visit with him. Cain's a big body receiver who played with the Colts, was on their practice squad before the Steelers plucked him off of it. So your take on those roster moves?
Yeah, first and foremost, need to emphasize that both of these were signings off of other teams' practice squads. So that means these two players at the very minimum are going to be on this 53-man roster for 3 weeks. All right, so that's pretty significant there. These guys aren't just going to be here today, gone tomorrow, kind of guys here. Now, the addition of Cain. Look, read into it what you will, but I think he's going to be around a little while. I think he's going to be a guy they try to spend a little bit of time with, not only the remainder of this season, but obviously into next season as well too. Because he's more of a stretch the field kind of guy. He's had you guessed it, drop issues, seems to be, and you can go all the way back, I think, to his Clemson time as well, too. But look, I mean, when he's on, but the problem is they've had problems getting him to stay on during his short, brief time in the NFL. He had the injury during his rookie season that wiped that out, and then so far this season, he couldn't find his footing with the Colts. I think even in the game against the Steelers, he had 2 targets. One of them was a drop, and one of them was a pass breakup by Joe Hayden, I do believe there. So another significant thing about this signing of Deon Cain is the fact that I'm willing to bet you he plays against the Bengals next Sunday, and it could be because Deontay Johnson misses the game with a concussion there. Even if Johnson doesn't miss the game, I'm willing to bet that Deon Cain dresses, and I bet he immediately starts eating into the snaps, the offensive snaps of one Johnny Holton, who, I don't know how many times you want to give that guy a chance to win downfield. You go back through this game the other day against the Browns, and look, Mason Rudolph obviously didn't play a great game at all, but there were a couple of balls that Johnny Holton, you got to come down with those in the NFL, if you ask me. So Deon Cain's playbook might include one page with a stick going north and south on it, but that's okay. But I do think that you're going to see him get action right away, right out of the chute against the Bengals. And even if Deontay Johnson plays, and I think he starts eating into the snaps of one Johnny Holton.
I agree. This team needs help at receiver in the worst way, especially if, with Juju and Deontay Johnson, their situation's up in the air. I'm sure the team might have an idea if they're going to be ready for Sunday, but you never know with concussions and being in protocol, and guys can take a step back. You saw that with Sterling Shepard up with the Giants, where he almost came back and then took another step back, and Ramon Foster felt like he was going to get cleared and missed an extra week, so you just don't know. And he's already, I'm sure Kane is a better option at receiver than Johnny Holton or Tevin Jones, who, Holton's gotten so many chances this year, just hasn't been able to make a play. Jones has been a practice squad lifer. Now, Kane hasn't had a great career so far. He struggled in Indy and kind of lost out on a lot of chances, but he is a guy with some playtime. Most importantly, he's been in a playbook and with a team. He's in shape. He's physically ready to go. He's played in NFL games, and that's really important. That's why you sign one of those guys as opposed to a street free agent, someone that hasn't played for the last several months. So I'm not sure if they have numbers for these guys yet. I'll check. But Kane's going to be, if he can be anything like a vertical threat, I'll take it because his offense has no real true vertical threat right now.
Absolutely. I think you would agree. Mostly he profiles as probably a Z type, but I think they may have moved him around a little bit in that Indianapolis offense there. But once again, a kid that, his college tape was okay. Had some drops in there, and we definitely have seen a few drops with him with the Colts as well too. Will he pan out to be anything? It's hard to say, but he's going to be a guy that I think the Steelers are going to at least try to invest a little time in here.
Yep, probably someone that sticks around on a futures contract if he shows even decently, again, with the lack of receiver depth right now and also for the future. With Kareth White, you see him as your return guy. That's why Tony Brooks-James got the pink slip. He'll be a kick returner. Not too sure about punt returns, but he's a guy that the number one thing you'll know about Kareth White Jr. is the straight line speed. Ran a 4.36 at his pro day, has 2 career kickoff return touchdowns for Florida Atlantic. A straight line kind of guy, not particularly shifty, but a guy with a lot of speed, which is this running back this group does not have, and to add that component is kind of nice.
He's another guy that's probably going to dress right out of the chute now against the Bengals and be your kickoff return guy. I think that's evident right now. Look, I wasn't surprised Tony Brooks-James was out the door. There, and look, you put Ryan Switzer on IR. You've got a banged up Deontay Johnson, so this is yet another sign that Deontay Johnson might miss the game against the Bengals too. When you add not only Deon Cain but Kareth White Jr. here. I think both these guys dress against the Bengals. I think White is your kick returner, and I think as I said, I think Cain starts getting some playing time.
I'm with you. And again, Kareth White was the backup to Devin Singletary last year. Singletary having success up in Buffalo for his rookie year. Ran for over 860 yards last year, 8 touchdowns. Only had 10 receptions last year and 22 in his career at FAU. So not a lot of receiver work. Obviously, you wouldn't expect him to play a ton at running back, but with the depth being a concern and Jalen Samuel's not doing a great job as a runner, and Trey Edmonds struggling there too, and James Conner's situation uncertain until we hear from Mike Tomlin tomorrow. It is possible he rotates in the way that Tony Brooks-James did. But I do like the allure of the straight line speed and kick return ability that White offers.
Yeah, and I don't know what you read into these moves with them happening on a Saturday following a short week. I mean, I think that's just yet another reason to think that they wanted to get these guys in the building and up to speed as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I come in. That you're going to bring these guys on, that you want to make these changes, the uncertainty about the injuries to Juju and Deontay Johnson, get these guys in the building right away, give them as much time as possible, take advantage of playing that Thursday game that gives you a couple extra days, and the more time these guys have to get in your system, get in your playbook, the better off they'll be.
And about Jaron Elliott being let go again, if there's anything to read into that, it's probably that Anthony Chicklow is expected to be ready and ready to return against the Bengals as well.
Mm-hmm. And then Tony Brooks-James, is there an open practice squad spot? Could he circle back, or do you think he's done for?
That's a good question. We'll find out. We'll find out real soon. We'll find out probably today, as a matter of fact. So today or tomorrow. So.
We will see. Dave, where do you want to go from here? We can talk about, I guess, the suspensions. I think Maurkice Pouncey is going to have his appeal heard on Wednesday. Is that true?
Tuesday, I think.
Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday. I apologize. So Tuesday, suspension will be heard. We'll see if it gets appealed. It may get reduced by a game. I'm not expecting anything more than that. They may keep it the same just with this whole incident. So I don't know what your expectation is. If you have one, what do you think happens with Pouncey on appeal?
Yeah, I don't have a clue what they're going to do on this, but I don't know if you slow down, and I put it up on one of the Twitter accounts this morning there. If you slow down Pouncey, going after Garrett here, it doesn't look like he actually makes contact. It looks like when he's trying to kick at Garrett's head or helmet, that gets blocked by another player's foot there. So it does, you tell me, does it look like he makes contact there, and does it even matter if he does or he doesn't in that situation there? Look, like I said right from the get go, I don't, knowing Pouncey and kind of being, if this was hockey, he'd be the enforcer, kind of guy here, man. I don't blame him for his actions there. Probably could have done without maybe the kicking, and I kind of wonder if the kicking doesn't happen if he gets 3 games there. But personally, I thought it should only be a game suspension for Pouncey. 3 seems a little bit over the top, so I'm going to, and like I said, I don't know which way this is going to go. I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that it gets lowered by 1 game.
I hope so too. It's definitely the kick that got him the 3 games. If he doesn't do that, he probably gets a game for the general actions and being involved in that fight. But anytime you kick a guy, especially in the head. Now, granted, I don't think it was a particularly hard kick. I'm not sure if it made contact. I thought it did, but Garrett was wearing his helmet. It's not like Garrett didn't have his helmet on, so he's not going to get hurt by that. But still, a kick is a kick is a kick, and that's going to get you suspended every single time.
Yeah, once again, we'll see how it plays out. I just feel 2 games should definitely be the max on this. I mean, him getting 3, I think, is just over the top, especially when Larry Ogunjobi got 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's third man in and pushing. There's no sense for him to do what he did, running up on Mason Rudolph and pushing him down like that, the way he did. So. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes out of it. Look, Pouncey's been a good overall kind of role model for the league, I guess you could say.
He said no major incidents.
Right. So it's not like you're talking about a guy that gets fined weekly for clipping or going at a guy's knees while he's engaged kind of guy. So. I think it's understandable why he reacted the way that he did. Once again, should he have kicked? No. But anyway, I'll keep my fingers crossed that it gets reduced by 1 game. I think that's the best. I think that's the best that anybody can hope for, is it getting reduced by 1 game.
Agreed. That is best case scenario. If he does not get reduced, he will not be able to return until week 15 against Buffalo. So to kind of set the framework of how much time he's potentially missing if the suspension does not get reduced. Garrett, I'm sure, will not see his reduced. Ogunjobi, I'm not even sure if he's appealing, but if he is, I doubt that gets reduced either. Mason Rudolph going to probably face a lot of hefty fines, probably going to equal to more than what his weekly game check is. So his wallet's certainly going to be hurting after this week.
Well, there's the 25% rule too. So,
What's that rule?
25% of what you make, it can't exceed that. So
for a week.
I'll have to find out what the exact wording of that. If you go back to the fine that who was the Terrence Garvin? Remember when he got fined for the punter incident?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember about the 25%.
I have hold on a minute here. I'll have to pull that up.
I think Rudolph's. I think I did the math yesterday, and Rudolph's weekly game check is something around $38,000. So that's what he makes per week on his game check.
All right, so, I'll have to pull up the clause while we're talking here. Rest of the show to read it out to you.
Gotcha. But he's going to get fined pretty heavily, and I think Troy Vincent said it could be for multiple things, so they could be fine.
Okay. Here it is. It's from Article 46 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement. On appeal, a player may assert, among other defenses, that any fine should be reduced because it is excessive when compared to the player's expected earnings for the season in question. However, a fine may be reduced on this basis only if it exceeds 25% of 1 week of a player's salary for a first offense, and 50% of and 50% of 1 week of a player's salary for a second offense. A player may also argue on appeal that the circumstances do not warrant his receiving a fine above the amount stated in the schedule of fines. So
Okay.
what does if you break down Rudolph's, what does Rudolph make a week?
I think it's about 38,000.
Right. So 25% of that.
Mm-hmm. Let me do the quick math. That'd be 9,500.
Did you divide that by 17?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Okay.
I believe so. Was it 38,000 or 380? No, I think it's 38,000. But that'd be 9,500 a week would be or 9,500 is 25% of that.
Hold on, you gonna make me look this.
I know you double check me because I was doing this last night. I'm trying to think about what my math was, but either way, so then he could be eligible for getting a fine reduced. But either way, I think Troy Vincent went through it and said, quote, there could be multiple fines coming to him, Rudolph, if we find another action that constitutes unsportsmanlike conduct. And that's fair. Rudolph was involved in the skirmish. I'm not going to pretend that he deserves what happened to him. He certainly does not, but I'm not going to pretend he was an innocent bystander in all of this either. He was certainly involved in the skirmish and helped get this thing started. Again, what Myles Garrett did, there's no excuse for. There's no reason for that. Doesn't matter the context of the situation, but Rudolph will get fined and rightfully so.
All right, Mason Rudolph is earning $658,000, a little over $658,000 this year. His game checks are $38,721 and some change. So 25% of 38, say $39,000. That's how much he can argue to have his fine set at.
And that number is just under 10 grand. So we'll see, but he can probably win that on appeal. I imagine.
Right. I think he'll win that. I think he will. On appeal, and then they'll just slap his hand. The rest of the way. As far as that goes there. Okay. What else do we have?
Dave, I know you wanted to talk about Terrelle Pryor, and he's now with the receiver issues, and I'm sure Pryor has witnessed this in the way he's posted on Instagram. Terrelle Pryor wants to come back to Pittsburgh, says the only team he'll play for now are the Pittsburgh Steelers, and really kind of imploring and begging, really, Kevin Colbert to sign him and trying to lay out how it'll be him and Juju and James in the slot, even though James Washington does not play in the slot, so watch that tape a little bit closer, Terrell, if you want to misstate your case. But Terrelle Pryor, as much as he may want it to happen, I think we both agree that that's not going to happen.
Boy, I hope he's not turning down other opportunities.
He says he did.
Yeah, I hope he's not, because he's probably not going to get any more. Look, it looks great on social media. All that, and look, I feel for the kid, and players on the backside of their careers where having to face that they're probably not going to play again. But there's a reason why guys like Terrelle Pryor and Eli Rogers can't find work right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the reality is Pryor is 30 years old. He barely played last year. He's been out of the league for a couple months after Jacksonville released him at final cutdowns. He was with Buffalo, had like 5 targets and 2 catches in 2018. There's a reason why, like I said earlier, you take guys that have more upside. At Deon Cain, a younger guy with more potential, you can sign to a futures contract if he plays well after the season, and then also somebody that's just been on an NFL field this year, is in more NFL conditioning, been in a playbook, and just kind of ready to go on the fly, which is what you need here in the middle of November. You can't get a guy that you have to take 2 or 3 weeks to get in conditioning and get your playbook. By then, the season's almost over, so you need guys that can potentially help you now, and that makes Deon Cain a no-brainer over somebody like Terrelle Pryor.
Yeah, and Pryor's a guy that has had some injury issues later on in his career as well too. The tape the last couple of years isn't all that great. Look, yeah, he was a former. He had 1 season of 1,000 yards. I think he surprised a lot of people when he did that as well. But nothing since, and the fact that he's a former 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL. that even at the age of 30 can't find work right now, that speaks volumes. It's a great story. I mean, the kid wants to come home, play for his hometown team, yada yada. How many hometown kids probably want to play for their favorite team right now?
All of them.
All of them. So, boy, he sure did do a good job at tugging at the heartstrings of people. But I'm against it. No reason for it.
Yeah, and obviously there's no evidence that it will happen. No evidence the Steelers are interested. The fact that they signed Deon Cain tells you they probably don't have any interest in Terrelle Pryor. Again, a good career, heck of a player at Jeanette, one of the best players in Pennsylvania high school football history at Ohio State, and he obviously made some big plays in the NFL, whether that was a 93-yard touchdown as a member of the Raiders against Pittsburgh and the 1,000-yard season he had in Cleveland. But doors probably shut on Pryor, and that's unlikely to happen in Pittsburgh.
Right.
All right, Dave, where do you want to go from here? Because we're kind of rolling through the topics today because unfortunately NFL Game Pass does not release the All-22 until sometime tonight with the rest of the games, which is kind of unfortunate. So we don't have a whole lot to talk about from a deeper analysis of the Browns game because we have not seen the All-22 yet. But any other topics you want to touch on here?
Yeah, I mean, look, and we'll get deeper into it. I've obviously rewatched the game a couple of times since we talked and all, but it wasn't a great game for Mason Rudolph. I mean, I think we've gotten that across. I mean, I think one of the most egregious plays was the one on the fourth down with Johnny Holton coming open across the middle. This is a kid that's got to start making, start getting a good read of things happening in front of him and making quicker decisions with the football. And look, he's not going to be a guy that's gonna extend the plays like a Baker Mayfield. Okay, that's just not who he's not that kind of Russell Wilson kind of guy. He's also not the Ben Roethlisberger type of guy where he's going to be able to stand in the pocket and throw people off of him, and extend plays that way. He's going to have to make it in this NFL with the Steelers as a kind of a true pocket passer, and he's going to have to start showing more better pocket presence as far as his movement in the pocket and as far as stepping up into the pocket and things as far as that, and he's going to have to start that clock of his is going to have to start getting quicker. He's going to have to start processing what he sees faster.
I agree. What do you think is his number one issue right now? What's the most consistent problem area you've seen on tape, not only from the Browns game but throughout his entire season?
I still think it's just pulling the trigger.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of the aggressiveness going downfield,
just in general, kind of goes back to the whole I want to try to be perfect here. I think there's some instances where he just is not wanting to pull the trigger on, whether it be how can you not see Holton come across?
Right. Well, he did see him. He threw it way too late, but he did see him, which makes me wonder all the more why you didn't do it sooner.
Right. Did he see him? Did he see him sooner and just wait?
That's what it felt like to me. Is that he knew Holton was there, wanted to go to somebody else on his first read, never came off of it, and then did it at the very last second. Had he just taken the sack, let's say, and just never saw Holton, I could say, okay, maybe the read wasn't supposed to go to Holton. Maybe he just got locked in, and that's a bad play, but I can understand that. It makes it actually worse. It's the fact that he apparently saw Holton at the very last second, which should have been not only a first down, it should have been a touchdown in a 14-7 game the Steelers were trailing at, by the way. So the fact that you saw him and you didn't throw it makes that even doubly concerning.
I mean, how quick did he see him? I mean, did he see, when we see Holton come on the end zone view of it, I just don't see how he didn't see him. And did he purposely lay off of him because he thought, maybe over to the left, who was over there? Samuels?
Samuels was in the flat. There was another receiver to the left side. I haven't seen the aerial view of it yet, so I want to look at that before I make any final conclusion of the play. My whole thought on that play was his pocket presence, and that's been inconsistent at best throughout these last couple weeks, really since the bye week. And on that particular play, and I wrote about this in the article on Friday morning, was that he's trying to find a clean pocket. He's sliding into pressure again. We've seen that issue before. We saw it against Miami. That led to a failed play actually led to a sack on that particular play. So the fact that he has to know he can't always work from a clean pocket, and he keeps wanting to find the empty space in the pocket. That's getting him into more trouble than it's trying to avoid. And that to me is his number one issue, is just knowing how to throw from a muddy pocket, from an off platform throw, and not sliding into pressure and creating more pressure yourself. To me, is a big issue for him.
Yeah, once again, I think one of the most egregious things. Look, I mean, the first interception on the flea flicker. I mean, to me, that's a forgivable. I mean, that was a great play by Ward.
It was. The ball placement could have been better, though.
Sure. It could have been a yard more out to the outside.
Right, and so you probably avoid the interception if you put that ball with better placement. There was pressure on that play. I have to go back and check to see exactly how much there was. So not his best play, but not his worst either.
Right. Now the other ones were obviously, I mean, look, the throw behind Tevin Jones, that just can't happen. He just didn't see on was it the last one to Schobert? I mean, he just didn't see it.
Yeah, he was locked in on the deep dig and never even saw the linebacker.
Right. I mean, and that's going to happen with any quarterback. But the other two obviously were egregious, I thought.
I know we are both in the let's see the totality of the season, and I do want to point out is that Rams game was to me that game against the Rams. Tell me if you agree, that was his best game of the season.
I thought all the way around, yeah.
Okay, and Randy Fiedner said the same. So we have his best game, we have his worst game in the last 2 weeks. And again, the context for the Browns game being a short week, he's a film study kind of guy. That's probably going to have a lot of issues playing a new team. You haven't played before on a short week without your running back, your two receivers, your offensive line not blocking well. That's a tough situation. So I just want to see the response from it. We've seen a good game, we've seen a bad game. Let's kind of see what this third game against the Bengals looks like. But my question to you, Dave, and again, I know we're looking big picture stuff. I don't want to make any proclamations about Rudolph today. There's no reason to. He's going to play the rest of the season. But how many plays has he made where you've gone, wow, okay, I see why they drafted this kid to be the heir to Ben, or wow, okay, I understand why the Steelers had a first-round grade on Mason Rudolph. If you just ballpark, I know you probably don't have every single one off the top of your head. I don't either. But how many plays or times you've gotten that feeling of, wow, this kid might be the answer, might be the future?
There has not. Well, I mean, I think maybe if you go back to the was it the first or second touchdown that he threw to Vance?
I think the second that might be, because that was, I think, a tougher play.
That might have been the one, but no, has there been one like, oh wow, can't wait to see that one on Sports Center or plays of the week or whatnot. No, there has not been that one play where you go, okay, yeah.
And is that a concern? Because that's a concern for me, because I understand you're going to have peaks and valleys as a quarterback and there's growing pains, and guys ride that roller coaster early in their careers. But generally, you want to start seeing some flashes of, okay, where is his ceiling at? Have you seen a couple plays from Rudolph? Because we are, 7 games into this thing? It's not 2 games. He's got some experience where you can see the peak of his game. And the fact I haven't seen some of those peaks, or those peaks I have seen aren't particularly high, does give me some pause.
Sure. And I would understand that at this point that, not seeing something, having that wow moment.
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of rookie quarterbacks, even though they're rookies and they've struggled, have had wow moments. Kyler Murray's having a couple wow plays yesterday. Baker Mayfield obviously made a lot of wow plays. Sam Darnold's made big plays. Josh Allen has made big plays with his arm and his legs. So, you do want to see that from Rudolph. You do want to see at least one signature game at some point this season, with certainly some easier opponents, including the Bengals. Probably no one easier than the Bengals this Sunday. And if you can't have those big games against some really bad teams, that is going to be an issue for looking at him big picture.
Here is the thing too. On top, I mean, you would admit, and I went through all the incompletions this past last couple of days though. There were some balls that should have been caught in that game against the Browns.
Absolutely. I said it after the game on the podcast. Rudolph didn't help his teammates, and his teammates didn't help Rudolph. When you have that kind of relationship, you have a really bad offense output, which is what happened.
If he connects with Holton in the end zone on that one that Holton lays out for, does that change any kind of view on it? Look, he hasn't had the quality of receivers he's had this year hasn't been all that right yet. I mean, you've had Juju drop some balls. You've had obviously Maurkice drop a couple of passes of his as well. I mean, just Johnny Holton. How many times has Holton been thrown to down that right side that he probably should have come up with the football. You know?
Yeah, it's been an issue, and even some of the young guys like Deontay Johnson being in his first year, so he's working through growing pains. Where your quarterback's working through growing pains. I mean, yeah, there are certainly a lot of context that has to be included, and if those guys can make plays, we're at least painting a somewhat rosier picture, but it wouldn't detract from the issues that Rudolph's consistently shown.
You would hope now in these last, what do we got, 6 games that you that you don't see a game as bad as he had against the Browns, and B, that maybe you see, a wow kind of moment,
Yeah, more than one, hopefully. But I will say this is I don't believe he'll have a worse circumstance than what happened Thursday for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. Short week, on the road, new team, no receivers, no running backs, being down. It's hard to envision a worse circumstance for a young quarterback than all those factors.
And what about this damn running game, man? I mean, that's not helping things.
No, there's no run game.
I mean, this is the worst that we've seen a Steelers running game in how long?
Well, I had the stat, and I know it's just the stat, but I think it kind of sums up the situation. Is this team's on track as a team to rush for 1,297 yards this year. That would be the lowest output in a single season, excluding strike-shortened years, since 1966. So 53 years. This could be the worst rushing attack in over 50 years, and so that kind of sums up just how abysmal the run game's in. And with James Conner uncertain, it's hard to really envision him playing on Sunday. We'll see. We'll learn more from Mike Tomlin tomorrow. It's hard to see this run game get a whole lot better.
I wonder what kind of gain we would get out of Mason if the running game was a little bit better, especially on 1st and 10. I mean, this team is absolutely pitiful on 1st and 10 plays. I mean, you're looking at a 39 to 40% success rate. I mean, that's worse than the league right there, I think, at this point now. In other words, the percentage of plays, you need to gain at least 4 yards or more on 1st and 10 for it to be a successful play in some circles, and only 40% of the plays time. How many 1st and 10s did we say they had the other day? Like 20 something of them. And I think only 39 or 38% of those were successful. You're facing a lot of 2nd and 7s, and if you're running on 2nd and 7 or longer, you're probably facing a lot of 3rd and long. So, is Mason pressing, getting in a situation too where on third and long that he's, that's kind of affecting his game as well too. It would, let me put it to you this way. It would be nice to see this team start running a little bit better to maybe take some of the pressure off of the quarterback here, on some of these, not facing so many 2nd and 3rd down and longs where you're becoming a little bit more predictable and opposing defenses can get after your butt. Now, I mean, I know that's all part of, quarterbacks have to navigate that all together. I mean, look, how much of that game did you watch last night between the Rams and the Bears?
About a half. It was terrible. I really couldn't watch it anymore, to be honest with you. It was ugly football.
Well, what did you think about the quarterback play in that?
I know Trubisky played better, and then he got, I think, benched at the end of the game for Chase Daniel. It was just ugly football all around, quarterbacks included.
I mean, this goes back to what is a franchise quarterback? How do you feel right now about the Rams giving Goff $130 something million right now?
I think Rams fans are having some buyer's remorse over there.
All right. Who are, we talked about what makes, we're slighted. I mean, we're disillusioned as Steelers fans overall because of having been all this time. Whether you want to try to do it or not, every quarterback now, until you get a quote unquote franchise quarterback, whatever that means, is going to be compared to Ben. All right. And even Ben, if you go back, I mean, to his rookie season, obviously the game was played a little bit different at that time, and he did have a running game. I mean, we can't admit that Ben had a running game during his first few seasons in the year in the league, right? Yeah,
I don't think that's any secret.
All right, now, but the thing that stuck out, and remember us talking about that clip, is this the moment that Ben became Ben, like his signature moment? when
What play?
the one against the Browns, I think, where he was knocked. Remember I sent that one to you, and I said, was this the moment that Big Ben became Big Ben? Or
Yeah, I remember you sending it. I can't remember the particular play.
kind of rolled out to the right side and extended the play and
Oh yeah,
threw downfield. I think to Plaxico,
Mm-hmm.
and was got took a vicious hit on the play, and I think it was like his third or fourth start. But that was a moment where you say, all right, and then of course throughout the rest of that season, he made those kind of plays.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, let's face it, Ben. What is Ben if he doesn't have that ability to extend plays throughout his career?
He's not Ben. He's not the Hall of Famer we know today.
All right. So that's his characteristic that kind of made him, I guess, who he is, the franchise type quarterback, right? Big arm, able to extend the plays. And once again, I think, I'd like to go back to just last year specifically. How many explosive plays did the Steelers offense have in the passing game that were a result of Ben being in the pocket more than 4 seconds, or being or post snap, 4 seconds post snap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to put the number to it. And even though his game's evolved and he's no longer Sandlot backyard Ben, he's still able to do that enough, and he's been able to evolve his game as he's gotten older in age. But yeah, whenever he came up, and what made him Ben was his ability to break tacklers and shake off defenders and extend the play like no one else could in football.
Now, as far as his deep ball accuracy goes, the first half of last season with Ben, it wasn't great. It came into now, however, there was that the throw down the left side to Antonio against the Falcons, where you couldn't run out there and place that ball in Antonio Brown's hands even better. And then kind of even late in the season that slot kind of go to Antonio against the Saints for a touchdown.
I'm sorry. Is there a connection to Rudolph here, or I'm just?
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, you're talking about the characteristics of one quarterback there.
Okay, gotcha.
And going back to, the signature kind of things.
Yeah, and we haven't seen. Well, again, I think Rudolph's best traits are his toughness, physical and mental, but that only gets you so far in the NFL. He doesn't guarantee success.
I'd like to see a game at some point during this last stretch of 6 games where they're able to run the ball, and then you're able to see maybe what Mason can do in that kind of setting there. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, if you're gonna dial up the perfect kind of scenario for him, it would probably be this week against the Bengals. I mean, you're coming off of you got a little bit longer time to prepare. Now, you might not have the receipt. I mean, We'll see what happens with Juju and Deontay, right? I mean, if you don't have those two guys, geez, we agree that Tevin Jones and Johnny Holton are practice squad wide receivers, right?
Sure. I mean, the fact that they're in an NFL offense as much as they have been last week it sums up how bad the situation is.
And we agree that Trey Edmonds and Tony Brooks-James, even though he's not, now he's been cut, those are practice squad running backs too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a skeleton crew last week. No debate about that.
And Jalen Samuels, I mean, I think we got a good idea what Jalen Samuels is and isn't now. But
to put the number on it, to go back to the original point of the conversation about the first down lack of success, on 1st and 10 this year, the Steelers are 30th in football, averaging just 4.7 yards per play, so that naturally puts yourself in 3rd and long. And on first down, they have the 2nd worst conversion rate of first downs on 1st and 10, just 14% of the time. Only team worse are the Chicago Bears, so they are just inefficient on first down, and that's compounding the problem. And part of that is on Rudolph, of course, but a larger part, I would say, is on the lack of a run game.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we had that study earlier in the year too that we talked about how big explosive plays play into touchdown scoring drives. So we need to start seeing in some form or fashion some explosive plays. More than just 3. The good thing about Ben, I think, probably on average, is you got 5 to 6 explosive plays a game from the Steelers offense. Whether it be a few of those from Ben extending the play himself, or look, James Conner last year had was it last year? Get to the halfway point before he went down with the ankle injury. I think he had something around 8 or 9 explosive runs. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and we're just not seeing that right now out of this offense. I mean,
And
it seems like they're struggling just to get to not have TFLs.
right, how many explosive runs did they have this year? 3, maybe. Snell, Edmonds,
Snell
Connor might
might
have
have
one.
2 of them.
He's got 2.
I think Snell might have
Well, he
two
had a
of them.
24-yarder on 3rd and 1 against Seattle back in week 2. What's the other one? Am I missing an explosive run that he had?
Didn't he
Another
have
one?
the one off the right side with Filer?
Is that against the Bengals? Or the,
Hold on a minute.
I look it up. Either way, the number's low. I mean, there are 3 or 4. I mean, I can pull up.
There's not many of them.
And I know Tomlin stressed that too. Is they have to get more big runs in the run game too, not only the pass game, but the run game numbers just have not been there. They've never been a team that's going to have a ton of explosive plays in the run game because they've had Le'Veon Bell. They don't have backs that are conducive to that, which is probably another issue we should talk about. But they got to get something more than what they've had.
All right. Benny Snell had the first one of the season against the Seahawks for 23 yards. James Conner had one off right end against the Bengals. Trying to remember what that one was. Was that the one?
I think that's the one you referenced with Filer.
No, Benny Snell had one against the Chargers, remember?
Okay.
Off right side, off of the big hole that Filer and who was it, Banner on that side over there. 20 yards even for Benny Snell on that one. And he had 23-yarder earlier in the season. Devlin Hodges, 21 yards. That doesn't count because that's a scramble. So James Conner has 2. He had one up the middle for 25 yards against the Dolphins, and then Trey Edmonds had the one against the Colts early in the game on kind of that pin and pull.
Mm-hmm. So you have 5 explosive plays in 10 games. So that's half of one per game, one every 2 games. That's just not good enough.
That's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Let's see how many they had through. How many games have they had this year already? 10?
Mm-hmm.
How many would you guess explosive runs they had last year through week 10?
You said Connor had something like 8, so I'd say they had 8 or 9.
They had 8.
They had 8.
And it was all Connor.
All Connor. Yeah, no, I mean, again, you can talk about long-term issues with him and the concern over re-signing him because of the injuries, and that's fair. But in the here and now, the fact he's not available is just really just kind of just hamstringing this offense.
And it's hard to imagine having him right now against the Bengals, isn't it?
Yeah, today I don't expect him to play. Now, Tomlin may say something totally different tomorrow, but I don't envision him playing against the Bengals.
How many? Let's see. How many? Some will consider a 10-yard run to be an explosive play when it comes to runs. They have how many of those? 19.
I'm looking that up now.
They have 19, 18 of those. No, 17 of those by running backs right now.
Mm-hmm. And that is around 26th in football in terms of 19 runs of 10+ yards. So yeah, it's just but for the record, if you think that Le'Veon Bell will be any better, the Jets are worse than the Steelers in both those categories, for whatever that's worth.
So, I mean, look, they got to get this, and I wrote about this a couple of days ago. What this team probably needs right now is some Benny Snell football.
They do, to get the most defined runner besides James Conner on this team back would be huge. We don't know his status, but I will say two quick things is that you have to be able to spread the ball out. I think that's the best way to try to run the football. I don't think you can go in tight. I'm gonna have to get Matthew Maurkice's offensive starting numbers. I'd be really curious to see what the numbers are when they're tight versus when they're in 11 personnel. If they do run the ball better, when things are more spread out, I think you got to create more run lanes for your running back and not just pack the box the way that this team has done when they bring in Banner and they go heavy personnel. And then from a bigger organizational point of view is that, obviously they're not getting good blocking and, teams are stacking the box against a young quarterback. Receivers have to do a better job blocking. But, the fact you don't have explosive plays is also probably due to the fact that your entire running back group, your whole room is nothing but 220-pound backs. And all they've drafted for years now, really since Tree Archer, have been a 225-pound, big-bodied, fall forward, push the pile kind of guy. James Conner, Benny Snell. I mean, I give you a whole list of names. Go back to Jonathan Dwyer and Jalen Samuels being a bigger guy, Benny Snell, like I said. So if you have an organizational change and you draft some backs that have some juice and some explosiveness and ability to create their own big plays, that would probably go a long way too. So I think it's about time, if you do address running back again, whenever you do, to find someone that's 200 pounds that has some jets instead of the big plotter like they've been drafting for years now.
Oh, sort of like Justice Hill?
Justice Hill. I really like Justice Hill coming out.
I did too.
I don't know exactly what he's doing in Baltimore. He's got some success, but that'd be nice to have that different element, because you can't keep drafting this. You can't have a whole room of just 220-pound guys and wonder why you're not getting the big plays.
They have got to get this running game. We'll see. Do I know if Benny Snell's coming back this week? No, but if you go back and when he had the surgery and the report about how much time he's supposed to, it's right there where you would think that he should be ready. It would be a huge look if they have to go in this game with Trey Edmonds, Jalen Samuels, and Kareth White. You get what you get.
And that's not going to be much, in all likelihood, even against the lowly Cincinnati Bengals.
Right. So
Dave,
they have got to run the ball, and then the short yardage. I think the short. Benny Snell was okay in short yardage, right? During his college career, overall. So maybe you get help in that statistical category as well too, if he's able to go there. So there's no reason right now. I mean, James Conner, he's probably going to tell you in another week or so that he's ready. If you keep bringing him back at 65%, he's going to keep going out of games. So you need to try to limp through these next couple of games without him. Hopefully have Benny Snell back, and then get a version of both those guys healthy, giving you a kind of a 1-2 punch there, because make no mistake about it right now, and we have not seen a lot of Benny Snell up until this point, but James Conner and Benny Snell are probably your two best down by down running backs that they have.
Clearly, head and shoulders above the rest of the group. Dave, you made mention of, and it's a great segue into the topic I wanted to discuss, the article I wrote for Monday morning. It's the Steelers are the NFL's worst short yardage team in football, and it's not particularly close. On 3rd and 4th and 1 this year, I mentioned the stat the other day on Friday's podcast, but I did a deeper dive into things for my article on Monday. The Steelers have only converted 4 of 16 attempts on 3rd and 4th and 1. That is 25% of the time. The league average, 2/3, 66.7% of the time. If the Steelers stay on this pace for the rest of the year, it'll be the worst short yardage team in football since Mike Tomlin took over as head coach in 2007. Right now, the Packers of 2007 hold that number at just under 40%, so the Steelers have a long ways to go. They would actually have to convert their next 4 3rd and 4th and 1s to be able to surpass what the Packers did in 2007. So I put together a compilation of all the failures, and again, it's not just 3rd and 1, it's 3rd and short. They are 30 on 3rd and 3 and closer. They are I think 31st in those situations, or on 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3, excluding the 3rd and 4th and 1, they are 31st in those situations. And here's a stat overall I can really hit you with that kind of tells you how bad the situation is. On 3rd and short, so 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 3, they are 28.6 conversion rate, which is terrible. On 3rd and 7 plus, 3rd and long, they are 27%. So they're basically converting 3rd and long as often as they do 3rd and short. And I couldn't sum up the just ineptitude of this offense any better than those two numbers. 28% on 3rd and short, 27% on 3rd and long.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to get it's got to get better. There are statistical categories that this team is failing in tremendously that have got to get better in. And third downs, especially 3rd and shorts, man, it's easy to be a little bit forgiving when you're not converting 3rd and longs, but 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts, they've got to start getting those to me are kind of freebies that any team ought to be able to convert.
Right, and again, they are converting 3rd and longs basically at the same clip that they do 3rd and short. I have never seen numbers like that before, and now we are dealing with some smaller sample size, and maybe the numbers change. You got 6 games to go, but wow, I mean, you're basically better off just being in 3rd and long than you are in 3rd and 1. That's really what the numbers are telling you.
Yeah, that's sad.
That is sad. So, yeah, just something to watch going forward. But again, we have the article, and if you can stomach it, we have all 12 failures on 3rd and 4th and short this year for you on SteelersDepot.com. Anywhere else you want to go, Dave, with the Steelers or the Browns game? Or anything related?
No, I think we've hit on a good chunk of that at least until the all 22 comes out.
Right, which we'll talk about more on Wednesday, along with Mike Tomlin's press conference. All right, Dave, AFC North recap. Ravens, they're winning the AFC North. Give them the caps right now because they just clobbered the Texans 41-7 yesterday. Good Texans team. They are now 8-2 on the season, and they are going to be your AFC North champs.
It's hard to think otherwise at this point. It would take really a monumental, I think, collapse on their end to not win the AFC North at this point. They are a better team offensively than I thought they would be this year, and really defensively too. You talk about a team that works in concert together. That's an offense and a defense that seems to be doing it this year.
And again, no one has an answer for Lamar Jackson. Almost no one slowed him down this year. Maybe the Browns. I mean, I guess they did early in the season, but since then,
the Steelers did a good job of against Lamar. I mean, he statistically really from adjusted net yards per passing attempt really all the way around. The Steelers did the best job on him this season.
Yeah, but still, didn't win that game ultimately. They were obviously in position to. But regardless, I mean, Lamar Jackson is he your MVP if you had to choose? I think he'd be my MVP. I haven't, season to go, not making any declarations now, but I think he would be the MVP for just that special skill set that if you didn't have him, what would that Ravens – would you imagine what the Ravens offense would look like with Joe Flacco still under center? Compare that to what it looks like now with Lamar Jackson. It's just the definition of night and day.
Well, you go back to say how many kind of wow plays that we had. He's giving you like 2 every week, it seems like now, albeit a lot of them with his feet, But
sure.
He most definitely is getting them done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess real quick to kind of sidetrack off of that, to kind of go down a rabbit hole briefly, is you look at a lot of these young quarterbacks in the league that are having success, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen doing decent up in Buffalo, Baker Mayfield. You have the common theme there is mobility. It's become like a mobile quarterback's world where if you can extend the play with your feet, be able to scramble, create your own plays downfield, you can have a lot more success. And you see someone like Mason Rudolph that's the opposite of that lacks mobility and certainly isn't going to be able to extend the play like that or be able to scramble and create his own yards that way. Is that, is the way the league should look at quarterbacks now really take into account mobility more than they have in the past? Should that be a bigger factor in the decision making? Because if you have that mobility, your game seems to be at a different level as opposed to quarterbacks that are kind of stuck in the pocket.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. I think you have to have an element of extending a play, no matter how you do it, whether it be running 30 yards down the field with the football, or whether it be avoiding a rush and making a play out on the move outside the pocket. Those are huge pluses in today's NFL.
Sure. And mobility is they're defined by how mobile you are. Either of those things.
So. Are we going more to? Is the Russell Wilson prototype kind of the way?
It's looking that way. You look at the promising young quarterbacks in football; they're basically all mobile quarterbacks.
And I mean, even Aaron Rodgers, and able to make plays outside the pocket. You see him less and less of that, unfortunately. I think when, as he's getting older. Same with Ben.
Sure.
Father Time catches up with you. So look at what Baker did against the Steelers the other night.
Yeah, the reason why he had success was he was able to break the pocket on third down and extend the play. And that is such a valuable asset. Teams want to play man coverage now to try to stop your receiving attack. Well, quarterback can take off and make you pay. You want to play zone coverage? Well, it's tough to play zone coverage in football today. So there's that element of it that I think certainly exists. And I think it makes mobile quarterbacks in vogue. Deshaun Watson is a mobile quarterback too. So you look at Rudolph and you say, one of those factors that hurts him is the really kind of complete lack of mobility that he has.
Here is the thing, though, that I'm still kind of waiting for, and I think guys, I think Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin would say the same thing when it comes to guys like Lamar Jackson. What happens once a team pops them once or twice? That
sure.
But they haven't yet. I mean, the age-old saying is you can't hit what you don't catch. Can't
Yeah,
catch.
all the names I just rattled off, they're all still standing right now. There's no one on injured reserve. And hey, I mean, anyone can get hurt anyway. Any quarterback can get blindsided. That's
Sure.
probably the bigger risk for injury is when a quarterback doesn't see it coming. If the quarterback's running, and he's run his whole life the way Lamar Jackson has, he knows when he can get hit and when he can get out of bounds, when he can make that extra step, or when he's got to slide and get down. So, I mean, if you can't, I know what you're saying, but you can't base it around the fear of getting hurt because a quarterback can get hurt at any point in the game. And they're all probably more likely to get hurt inside the pocket than outside the pocket.
And he has made some very nice throws, especially red zone throws, I've thought too. That's another area of his game that's really, talking about Lamar Jackson, surprised me, is his ability to work in smaller areas of the field and kind of throw the ball where only his guy's going to catch it, kind of thing. So I don't think you see a lot of that was an interceptable ball by him. Now, is he throwing on a game by game basis? Is he throwing for a lot of yards? Well, no, because he's making up a lot of them with 70 to 80 to 100 yards on the ground. Which makes them. I mean, that's tough to defend, man. When you're having to change kind of your rush schedules, your rush lane, making sure you respect keeping them in the pocket more so than maybe getting to him. That alters the game as well too.
Absolutely, and it makes him a dynamic player, the most dynamic player in football, in my opinion, and to me, the MVP of the NFL. But regardless, Ravens destroy the Texans. Bengals lose to the Raiders in a close one, and Cleveland obviously beat Pittsburgh on Thursday. So AFC North gave you no hope in that sense of it. I think your rooting guide you had, I think the other day, I think it all went the other way that we were hoping it would.
Yeah, maybe I need to try to go the other way.
No, I mean, you wanted the Bengals to beat the Raiders, you wanted the Dolphins to beat the Bills, and those were obviously going to be long shots to happen, but it didn't happen. And then the Ravens get an extra game on the AFC North race and basically have locked up the AFC North with 6 weeks to go. And I forget what the other games were you were rooting for, but none of them broke the Steelers' way either.
Right. Wanted, I think, Jacksonville maybe to knock off Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any consolation, is that somebody's got to win the AFC South, and perhaps maybe the loser, that whoever doesn't would be a team probably competing against the Steelers for a wild card spot. Look, New England obviously going to be in. Baltimore at this point at an 8-2 record, it's hard to envision Baltimore not getting in the playoffs. It's hard envisioning them not winning the AFC North right now. Somebody's got to win the AFC South. Somebody's got to win the AFC West. The problem is both those divisions, whoever's kind of the runner-up in there, going to be in the right in the running for the wild card as well, as is maybe Buffalo. The thing I think that sticks out, Buffalo is going to be an interesting player in all this. A, because the Steelers still play them, and B, Buffalo has yet to beat a team with a winning record.
That's interesting.
Okay, and the next team that they play with a winning record is the Dallas Cowboys in a couple weeks. All right, if you look at Buffalo's schedule upcoming, and don't want to go too far down this hypothetical, looking kind of that far ahead, but Buffalo plays Denver at home this next week. Denver, I don't know what you think about Denver. They're not going to be in the playoffs, but they're a team that's probably going to give you everything every week.
They blew the lead against the Vikings, but they took them to the final play of the game, literally yesterday.
All right, so let's go ahead and maybe give Buffalo a win against Denver. Okay, so then they're 8-3. Their next three games are against Dallas, Baltimore, the Steelers, and New England.
Yeah.
And we'll see if the Steelers have a winning record come that time. It'd be nice if they did. But obviously, if the Steelers don't have a winning record at that time, it just doesn't matter. At that point. So let's assume the Steelers do have a winning record at that time. Could we see Buffalo go 1-4 in their next 5 games?
That would put them 9-7?
8
Well, you had them at 8-3. Are you including the Denver as the one win?
Oh, I'm including Denver as the one win.
Oh, okay. So you're saying they dropped the next 4. I don't know. History says teams 8-3 are going to make the playoffs.
when they're 8-3.
Yeah, the last team that didn't do it was the Eagles in 2014, Bears in 2012, Bucks in 2008. I mean, obviously it's a tough schedule, and you could see them come back to earth a little bit, but they could even go just 2-2, get to 10 wins. It's going to get you a wild card spot.
All right. Well, look, I mean, you're going to have to hope that they fall on hard times then, because.
Well, I think you're really just angling for that 6 wild card spot and just trying to get hope 9-7 with a tiebreaker is enough to get you in.
Yeah, and maybe hopefully you get in a place where it's you and the Buffalo Bills and you had beaten them. Kind of say, look, the Steelers obviously can't get in, but they're going to have to, at the very least, they're going to have to win 4 of their next 6. I mean, 4 of their final 6, and that just gets them to 9-7. You know,
right.
So. You're going to have to do some serious scoreboard watching here pretty soon. But, yeah, I mean, look, for them to win the division right now, it just doesn't seem likely.
No, I think it's almost 0, those odds. I'm not sure what the actual odds are, but I think it's almost 0. And obviously it just starts with getting on track for this game against the Bengals, because if you lose this one, it'd be just a gut punch to your season, basically end your season.
Yeah, you can't lose. You can't lose this one.
All right, and I don't want to assume anything. I mean, the Bengals played the Raiders stuff, a good Raiders team, another team that Steelers will be fighting for a wild card spot with potentially, and took them to basically to the end of the game. And with the Steelers hurting on offense, with their own inefficiency and just injuries as well, I don't want to assume that it's going to be a cakewalk to beat the Bengals again like it was before. I'm not going to go in there and just make that assumption.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could have an offense that features Edmonds, Samuels, and White in the backfield, and a receiving core potentially that is Washington, Tevin Jones, Johnny Holton, Deion Kane, and
there you go.
And there you go, right?
Yeah, and obviously again the Bengals are really hurting offensively with Ryan Finley, and they got Auden Tate hurt, and AJ Green's status is still up in the air. Tyler Boyd's not doing anything, so Steelers on paper should still win this game. They have the much better defense, but again, with how just inept this offense has been, I mean, I'm not gonna just assume anything about this game.
Just get a win, and then next week we'll talk about can they win against the Browns.
Yep.
So just get a win here. Of course, we'll start breaking that one down here a little bit more in depth starting Wednesday.
All right, Dave. Anything else from AFC North talk, or you want to tell us about our friends at MyBookie? Then we'll get to some reader emails and close out the show.
Yeah, let's get to our buddies at MyBookie here, and they've got a couple of Thanksgiving promotions coming up. Attention, past, present, and future MyBookie players. During Thanksgiving week, MyBookie is offering a risk-free bet on the Bears-Lions game. Simply choose a team against the spread for up to $250. If you win, congrats. You've got extra holiday spending money. If you lose, congratulations to you as well. MyBookie will give you all your money back. It's a no-brainer because you literally cannot lose. It's no risk, all gravy. It doesn't matter whether you're an experienced player or a first-time customer. MyBookie welcomes all to come play, so quit waiting around and sign up today. Do you find yourself wanting to sports bet but have lots of questions? Don't sweat it. MyBookie's patient customer service team can walk you through the process, and the best part of it is, if you join this Thanksgiving week, you'll still have one last shot to take advantage of their incredible sign-up offer. Just log on to mybookie.ag, make your first deposit with promo code TERRIBLE. That's terrible. And MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar to jumpstart your bankroll, and that's on top of the risk-free bet. Let me repeat, that's guaranteed deposit match and a risk-free bet for Thanksgiving only. So if you're a true football fan, you do not want to let this opportunity pass you by. You simply can't lose. Make sure you do your part to support your team this season. Hop on the gravy train and get in on the action with MyBookie. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, Dave, let's get to some reader emails.
All right, I don't think some of these are going to be pretty. trying to go through some of them ahead of time. Let's see, from Sim Football Critic, I put my glasses on here. Signing bonuses and cap space. Hello, guys. First of all, I would like to thank both of you for everything you do for Steelers Nation. My buddy Tony introduced me to Dave and Dave a few years ago, and I'm a faithful listener ever since. Sidebar, I was always a big fan of Alex, and when he made special appearances, I was overjoyed. When the show became Dave and Alex, I speak to you guys pretty regularly on Twitter and always reference the great work you guys do on my own podcast. Here's my question. How is cap space affected specifically with signing bonuses? I often hear people say that you can massage the cap with signing bonuses, but I'm not sure how it affects the cap space. Does the whole bonus count towards a cap, or is it percentage? Thanks in advance for responding. P.S. My favorite Dave line, don't tell me about the labor pains, show me the baby. Well, let me tell you that this week against the Bengals, I don't want to hear about all these labor pains, man. Show me the baby.
Amen.
Here's talking about signing bonuses. Look, whenever you give a player a signing bonus, the max that you can stretch that thing out is 5 years, and that's assuming that you have signed the player to a contract that length that you can spread it out. Obviously, if you sign a player to a 3-year contract, the signing bonus can only be stretched out 3 years. Now, if let's say you sign a player to a 6-year contract, the signing bonus can only be broken down by 5 years. Now, the player already gets the signing bonus when he signs, and generally that's paid out over it depends on the agreed payout schedule and all like that. The money's gone, okay? The money's gone to the player. It's just how it affects the cap and all. You can stretch it out to hit your cap in equal amounts over at most 5-year periods. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but if you cut a player before his contract's up, that money all comes due. That signing bonus all rolls forward into dead money into whatever year that you're talking about, unless it happens after the June 1st of whatever the year that you're in. So let's say this year that you cut a player, whatever, if you cut him after June 1st, whatever was allocated to the signing bonus breakdown part for that year stays in that year. Whatever was left out on the books past that year all rolls forward into dead money into the next year. That's why you hear a lot of talk about June 1st cuts and all like that. So when you talk about massaging the cap, I think really the way that you talk about it mostly when it comes to the Steelers right now would be more in an instance like restructures. That's why restructures are so popular, because you can take what a guy's due in, let's say, base salary, and maybe he's got a roster bonus due in an upcoming year. You take a good portion of his base salary. You take, let's say, his entire roster bonus that he's due. You roll that up into a signing bonus, and then you stretch that out for however many years is left in the contract there. That's one way to massage it there. You heard us kind of talk about, someone wrote in asking about, well, can you kind of do something with Ben and, add on kind of like some dummy years on top of that? Yeah, you actually could do something like that, but Ben's got to be on board with that too, and I'm willing to bet that he wouldn't be. In a situation like that, So anytime you're talking about signing bonus, it can only be maximum 5 years that you amortize that out for cap purposes there. And obviously, like I said, if you sign a player for less than 5 years, you can only stretch it out for the amount of years that he signed for. So did I handle that right, Alex?
Yeah, I think you summed it up well. Appreciate the question. Appreciate the Sim Football Critic. I like talking to you on Twitter. The channels you do on video on YouTube. The videos you show on YouTube are really impressive. So appreciate you asking the question.
All right, Terry Withrow writes in, quick question: how does Randy stay on as OC at the end of the season? This is the most putrid offense I've ever seen. I've watched the scab players play better. It's obvious he's in over his head. I get the lack of execution and injuries, but they struggle so hard to try to gain just 1 yard. Embarrassed but loyal Steelers fan. Terry, look, I mean, a lot of it's personnel that you have in there. Now, has the scheme been great? Has the play calling been great? Look, you could go through any NFL game every week, and like that third down. I don't know if you saw that third and short toss out to the left in that game by the Bears last night, Alex. just a putrid call.
Yeah, Matt Nagy's not a fan favorite in Chicago.
In that situation there. As long as Ben's going to be around Pittsburgh, Randy's probably going to be your offensive coordinator. I'll just put it to you that way.
Yeah, Fichtner's not going to go anywhere. They're not going to change OCs the way that they wanted to bring on Fichtner to bridge the Haley era. They weren't going to change the system and bring in a new OC for Ben in his, what I would say, final 2 years. So like him or not, Fichtner's going to be the guy, but Fichtner does work a lot better with Ben, and so hopefully that will give you better results in terms of the OC quarterback chemistry, and then just obviously having Ben in general should field more offensive production next year.
I mean, don't forget that you played a lot of that last game without Juju and without Deontay Johnson, and quite honestly, we thought Dante Moncrief would be a bigger part of this offense this year. We thought Johnny Holton would haul down a couple of deep balls throughout the year here. You thought James Conner would have a better year than he's had, and he can't stay healthy. It's just been a mess. Throwing a young quarterback on top of all this. You got to be able to run the football. It all starts there to some degree.
I agree, but I will say, and particularly with the short yardage stuff I wrote about this morning was, and even just broader than that, the offense in general. And again, I know they're trying to find their way with quarterback changes and injuries, and it's been a revolving door at some of these positions. But what are the Steelers' go-to plays? If some fan of NFC team doesn't want the Steelers asked you and said, "Hey Dave, what are the Steelers' most popular plays? What are their gotta-have-it plays in crucial situations?" I mean, I'm not even sure what I would respond with.
Yeah, I would used to maybe say running the power, but I can't even say that anymore.
I mean, they do still run it, but it doesn't feel like a core concept. I mean, they run some mesh, but I mean, if it's third and short, what is Fichtner's core concept in red zone? What is his core concept in first and 10? What just in general? What is his favorite passing concepts? I mean, it's hard to identify it, and that's what Daniel wrote about yesterday, saying the Steelers just lack an identity. They lack overall identity, but schematically and from a play call standpoint, they just seem to be just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, and look, I mean, they don't have they're not a running team.
Mm-hmm. Obviously,
they're not kind of a there are times where I thought that they ought to just saddle up the mostly RPO up tempo offense and just go.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
At this point, that I think I would really entertain something make it simple math here, and throw in some more of these wide receiver screen run game alternatives and all like that, and just if you got cover one man on the outside, go up over to just try to do a lot of the things that Mason did well at Oklahoma State. Now, obviously, the game's faster, more, but just open it up a little bit more. And I think they're going to have to open it up more anyway with personnel groupings and all, just to get the running game going. So, I mean, look, you start, and as soon as this all 22 comes out of this game against the Browns too, getting in there and counting the guys. I mean, I remember making it through like the first 5 or 6 running plays, and it was like 7 or 8 guys in the box.
Right.
Because why wouldn't you?
Sure, absolutely. And again, you don't have to be an amazing offense to have an offensive identity. Look at the Arizona Cardinals. They're an offense that's getting better, but they're by no means a potent NFL offense yet. But they have a clear identity in terms of going with a lot of 4 receiver sets that almost no one in the league does, of being able to spread things out, to displace linebackers, to create light boxes, to help open up the run game with some design quarterback runs as well. So they are a clear offensive identity team, a team the Steelers will see in a couple weeks. By the way, you'll get a first-hand look at that. That's getting them on track to becoming a good NFL offense. You got to have the identity first, then you can work that identity, get rhythm and repetition to create efficiency on offense. And the Steelers have neither of those things right now. They don't have an identity, and they certainly don't have an efficiency.
Michael Thomas has 90-something receptions for the Saints already this season, right?
94, yep.
Juju, the Steelers wide receivers. Juju has 38. Take your shoes off here.
All right.
38. Deontay Johnson has 32. James Washington has 23. Ryan Switzer has 8. Deontay Moncrief had 4. Tevin Jones already had half. He's got 2. Johnny Holton has 1. Hooray!
Hey.
How many is that?
108.
Ugh.
So basically just a little bit more than what Michael Thomas has done single-handedly this year.
Jalen Samuels is second on your team in receptions with 34. And
Wow.
James Conner is fourth on your team in receptions with 30.
And he's appeared in about half the games.
Vance McDonald, we were talking before the start of the season, Vance McDonald, maybe he can hit 60. 60 receptions. He's got 28.
Yeah, and they have not been nearly the big plays that you saw last year from him.
Why can't you run that RPO, out of the shot or out of the pistol or out of the shotgun and read, put the linebacker in conflict, and if he commits to the run, you just pop it to McDonald,
Yeah, they should run more RPOs. Is it a lack of trust in Rudolph? Is that why they're not running it? I mean, I'm just speculating, but
look,
that could be
I know you can't. As much even as RPO is, you see it on a week-to-week basis in the NFL. I realize you can't run, run it all the time, but there are possessions and instances I think where you can, especially with a young quarterback, and as fragile. That's going to be a key word we're going to use all the rest of the season and have for quite a while. As fragile as this offense is, I really think you should be getting more into Rudolph's comfort zone when it comes to something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that if you're not building your system around your quarterback, then what are you doing? And again, I understand you're doing this on the fly, and that's a difficult endeavor. But maybe they just don't trust him to run RPOs. Because I've heard some coaches say, they don't call them RPOs, they call them RPGs, run past guesses. And maybe they just don't trust Rudolph to make the right decision, which is a big problem if that's the case. But
absolutely. I mean, look. I mean, it was cute first couple weeks. So we're protecting our quarterback from the defense. All right, yeah, that don't fly anymore right now.
It's not so cute when it's a playoff push.
Right. At this point, your first couple games, all right. I understand, sorta. But now, no. I mean, you got now 6 games where you need to find out what this young quarterback can do.
Right, and again, it's not like you're starting Josh Dobbs, who you never viewed as the heir, or Devlin Hodges, who's obviously... You're drafting a guy that you believe is the heir to Ben. That's what you said a year ago. You said you had a first-round grade on him. You thought the world of Mason Rudolph. And if you can't open it up for him and you can't trust him, then that's basically admitting that you were wrong in your evaluation of him.
So you need to tailor stuff around what you think he can and can't do right now. Yep. And I mean, you've got enough on him now. Look, I mean, and people say, "I put Duck in." That don't get over it, people. The final 6 games, barring injury, is going to be all about Mason Rudolph, and it should be.
Yeah, it should be. And again, I do want to point out this offense had been evolving and it had been opening up prior to the Browns game. And the Rams game was Rudolph's best game of the season. So I just really want to see the response from him, having 10 days to chew on it, and we'll see who gets healthy. But I think the Bengals game will be just a big test of his ability to bounce back from an objectively just terrible performance.
Now, obviously, and look, he's probably going to have not have the most talented weapons around him, but I mean, another bad performance again, and a loss to the Bengals, and then you're really going to be shaking your head where you're at, right, all the way around. All right, let's see, Terry, thanks for the email there. Hey guys, this is Bryce. Tough loss to the Steelers. Defense kept us in, but got no help from the offense in this one. Plus, Mason Rudolph did not instigate the brawl. Did he help keep it going? Sure, but started. That's anti-facts. A couple thoughts, questions for Jens. While the line didn't play particularly well Thursday night, I think the fact that the defenses are selling out against the run into why the Steelers aren't having successful run plays. Defenses have no fear of our passing game. Therefore, they're going to stack against the run all game. Even if we do get it going in the passing game, I don't see teams getting out of the stop the run at all cost mentality. They will live with making Mason prove he can consistently win. Here's the thing. I mean, you got when you get those instances like they've had 3 or 4 times a game here where they've gotten the looks that they've wanted to get on the outside there and throwing deep, these wide receivers have got to start coming down with some of these footballs.
Sure, and right now when you throw into Johnny Holton and Tevin Jones, those aren't guys that you can count on to make plays.
Until you start doing that, though, teams are going to continue to single you up on the outside. Like that and dare you to beat them over the top. However, if you start winning 3-4 times in a row and home run somebody, that maybe that gets a little respect. But yeah, I mean, their teams, teams aren't respecting anybody in that offense right now.
Mm-hmm.
In the passing game, yeah, Juju would probably get a couple of brackets a game, more than a few. But I mean, other than that, I mean that's it. With Juju, I'm letting Juju have what he wants underneath. I'm just tackling the catch with him.
Or I'm just doubling him and making someone else make a play, especially if Deontay Johnson isn't going to play this weekend, if Juju's able to play, which we don't know the status of either of those guys. But yeah, there aren't enough big threats in this offense, and that's obvious. But it's really hindering this team from making explosive plays.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you start running it a little bit better, maybe you start getting those. Maybe you get another safety to come on down or something.
Mm-hmm. I just hope that one of Snell or Connor can play against the Bengals, because if not, I don't know how you're going to manufacture a run.
It's tough, yeah. I mean, because those two, and right now, I got to be honest, I hope Connor doesn't play, because I just cannot envision him being healthy enough to help.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. I think they know that they need to take a step back and let him really get to full 100% health before trotting him out there again.
Help us, Obi Benny Snell Kenobi. You're our only hope.
Yeah.
Alex, I agree with your tweet Thursday night that Mark Barron has negative ball skills. He may do some good things every now and then, but overall, he's JAG, just a guy. The plays that he did give up last night because of poor ball skills and no playmaking ability were costly. The big 20-yard catch to Hunt and a TD late in the game. Your thought? Look, I mean, the play against Hunt, I'm more forgiving probably than most against, right? I mean, how long do you want a guy to run down the field with his back? Look, you're going to get in chase mode at some point when a quarterback extends the play.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but it's not like Hunt ran away from him where you're sitting there saying he's covering for 5 or 6 seconds and it's just hard to keep up. He's in position to make the play, so go make the play. I mean, I don't care if that's 2 seconds long or if that's been a 7-second play. You're in position to make the play, so just make it. How long he covered it didn't matter. You're in position there. The same for the touchdown that iced it. That was an extended play, sure, and that was an issue for the passers. They couldn't contain Baker, but Barron's right there to make the play. I don't care how long you're covering it for. Make the play. And he did. He just negative ball skills. I mean, he wasn't even close to popping the ball out trying to. So, it's just been a big issue for him.
Yeah, I think that one particular play. Look, am I happy with Barron's play? Absolutely not. But I think look, I mean, I think that's what made Baker Mayfield's decision so good. And anytime you see a player, if you're a quarterback, if you see a guy running downfield with a guy with a defender with his back to you, not looking at the football, that's advantaged. You got to throw to that receiver.
Sure, but the linebacker's got to use his technique and the way he's taught to play the ball when he's not looking at the ball and play.
Yeah,
I
just think it's more forgivable in a situation like in particular like that. Look, I mean, Barron's gone after this season anyway. So, number 3, I do love the fight in our team. Barring a Ravens collapse, the best we can do is fight it out for a wild card. But with all these injuries, I'll take it. What specific things would you say the Steelers must absolutely improve to get that 6th seed? They need to run the damn football. That's what they need to do.
Yeah, you got to be able to run the ball better. You got to be better in possession downs, third and short, third down in general, but particularly third and short. Defense is going to have to create turnovers. The defense is going to have to just make big plays the rest of the season, because even if this offense gets a little better, it's not gonna do a whole lot. It's not going to be the strength of this team. Nowhere close. So it's really just the same script of the defense creating big plays, stealing possessions, creating short fields for the offense, and the offense playing just well enough situationally to convert some of their chances.
Who does, let's see, Wolf Hernandez, happy Monday, Dave and Alex. Who are the Steelers' best skill players right now? Who's the guy who opposing defenses fear? We've seen glimpses of what Deontay Johnson can do after the catch when healthy. James Conner is a nice player in open space, and Juju has his moments, but this team lacks a home run hitter. See Alvin Kamara, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman with the team's current level of offensive skill position talent. Will it be enough for Ben to succeed next year? If not, what offensive skill position should they focus on this offseason and on draft day? Look, I mean, it's Juju right now, and then that's it right now.
I mean, Deontay Johnson has flashed, obviously. There's a consistency problem there. It is interesting about the receiver. How would you address receiver next year? Because you got Juju, you got Deontay, you got James Washington. You hope that Johnson's going to keep making strides, and Washington has obviously flashed and come on strong the last couple weeks, since the Browns game. So do you address that position early? I think I would take somebody late as a big-bodied vertical threat, and maybe that's about it. How would you handle that position?
I'd go looking for me the next Martavis Bryant without the issues in about the third or fourth round.
Okay, fair enough.
Somebody that has shit speed and might not that someone that you think will drop in that third or fourth round because not perfectly well rounded, but he can home run you. They can get a home run. He can beat a corner off of one-on-one against press. That's what I want.
Yeah, I'm with you. I might draft it a little bit later than you have, but I know we're splitting hairs at that point.
And I think they might be able to get in that position where they can get that. But that's what I'm looking for. And probably maybe a different kind of back. To me, I think you need to draft another running back. And you should be able to get one fourth or fifth round that's not in every down back, but can give you the kind of that different kind of running style, on top of it.
I agree in principle. I'm just curious, how would that play out? I mean, I know we're looking. It's hard to gauge this right now, but are you potentially keeping 4 backs next year? Is he at the end of Jalen Samuels? I mean, is there anyone at risk of losing their job next year?
I think Jalen Samuels is at risk, man.
Yeah,
I really do. I really do.
Okay, fair enough.
Because look, he wasn't a full-fledged running back coming out of college.
No, there's a reason why the combine had him as a tight end. Now, granted, he's not a tight end, but that's how little he was as a runner. And he's clearly, I mean, again, I know I've been critical of him, but he's got no vision, he's got no power, he's got only a little bit of burst. He's a decent route runner, but his hands aren't even that great. He drops too many passes. Really, what is his defining skill set outside of being a moderately okay receiving threat?
Yeah, he's very replaceable if you ask me.
Right, and even as a receiving threat, because he doesn't have those traits of being shifty or elusive or powerful in the open field. He's not going to offer you much after the catch. He's just someone that's comfortable lining up in space. It isn't that attractive of a trait.
I wanted to get to this too. Ryan Switzer was put on IR. Have we seen Ryan Switzer played his last down in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think so. Now, he may be in camp next year, but I don't think he's playing another down.
I think he'll be in camp as well too. There's no reason not to bring him to camp.
He's on their contract next year, right?
Right.
Okay.
There's no reason not to carry him along for the ride, but he shouldn't. Look, where I've come in on this all from the get-go. They've been better served, and it probably wouldn't have been much better served, but they'd been better to keep Deontay Spencer.
Yeah, in hindsight, yeah. I mean, he had a big 40-something yard return yesterday, so sure. In hindsight, I mean, Switzer gave you nothing, so Deontay Spencer just had to give you something more than nothing, and he would have been better. And so, yeah, Spencer would have been likely more valuable.
And the fact that look, is Johnny Holton going to be on this 53 next year, Alex?
I hope not.
I hope not either. So if Johnny,
if he is, it'd be as that last receiver that's playing only special teams and not seeing a snap on offense.
Right, and he's number 6.
Mm-hmm.
And
or nice battle.
And you hope that you don't get in a position where you have to do that.
Yeah, but you got to bring in some new blood, new energy to this group because they need it.
Yeah, they do. That's why I think you need that's why I think Kane was at. I think they're going to take a long, hard look at Kane. Obviously, the upside is probably limited at this point with him, but maybe they can, maybe there's something there to him. And I think that's why you did see him, not only because of injuries, but I think they see a little something maybe with him that they'd like to try to explore, not only through the rest of this season, but into the offseason as well, too. Yeah,
you said you wanted to find a Martavis Bryant. Well, you got a 6-foot-something Clemson receiver with some speed. I'm not saying it's going to be Martavis Bryant, but give it a shot.
Ian McCullough writes in, Dear Dave and Alex, even with the Kane signing, if Deontay and Juju can't clear concussion protocol, the Steelers might need to sign another wide receiver. We can't have Johnny Bless His Heart Holton. I guess that's my nickname I've given him, right? Johnny Bless His Heart Holton playing so many offensive snaps moving forward. Look, Johnny's had his chances. You got to have a guy step up and make plays, and he hasn't. Holton playing so many offensive snaps moving forward. Here are my 3 choices for adding another wide receiver. Eli Rogers, obvious choice. Alex Kozora, who knows the offensive playbook better, and 0 career drops.
Hey, all right. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. You do not have an NFL drop.
Right. I'm not sure if he's right, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, look, and you're probably I would probably put your 40 ahead of mine, and
well, that's the bar we're using for NFL.
Yeah,
we got a lot of guys gonna get signed here soon.
Justin Hunter, number 3, tailor-made for the launch it deep and hope for pass interference play. Whom would you pick? Thanks and keep up the great coverage. P.S. I'll admit one of these isn't a serious suggestion. Sorry.
I assume that's Justin Hunter.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm taking.
He says sorry, Justin.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
On the same page.
I would probably pick you over Eli. Look, there is a reason Eli Rogers does not have a job. We don't know what that reason is, but there is a reason.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was talking about signing Eli a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to talk about it week after week and do one of those things that a lot of hacky blogs and stuff will do and just harp on a guy for weeks and months on end. He's not going to get signed. It is what it is. We'll see if these guys are healthy. Hopefully one of Juju and Deontay Johnson can play. Juju was doing events and stuff, so maybe that's a good sign for him. Obviously, that's much different than playing football, but we'll see. My guess is that Connor won't play, Juju will play, Deontay Johnson is going to miss. That's my guess.
That's right where I am in all this, and I'm going to hold out hope that Benny Snell football comes back this week because it can't hurt. I hate to use it can't hurt realm because a lot of people are saying, what would it hurt to sign Terrelle Pryor? And I think that's a lazy attitude to have when it comes to that. But anyway, Wes Hickok writes in from Wes Hickok of Muncie, PA. Is Muncie, PA close to you, Alex?
I'm not sure. I don't think it's not super close. I'd have to look though.
All right, I don't know where that is. Let's see. First of all, addressing a comment Dave made and received a few weeks ago. I love the show. I listen via Google Podcast. Dave, you're not mean. You're blunt and realistic. Something some Steeler fans know nothing about. Keep up the great work. Alex does a pretty good job trying to keep up with you. Okay. On the offense, I'll very briefly address my thoughts on Duck first. I feel it's arguable he, in limited opportunities, has shown better pocket presence and mobility. Those are a couple upsides. I'm not calling for Mason to be benched or think that it should happen. Moving on, it's no secret when Ben is out there, he basically runs the offense. Now that Fiedner has to do something. He looks lost and out of his depth. I don't see how they don't move on from him, or at least move him back to quarterback coach and bring in a new OC next offseason, regardless of Ben once. Well, that's a big problem to overcome there, Wes. I guess I do see it. I see the logic in not doing, and no, likely won't happen. Just something I feel should happen. It will be shocking if they move on from Randy as OC next year. The O-line has been having, let's call it, an off year. It's been far from the worst O-line, but hasn't helped Mason out at times. At the same time, Mason needs help them out. His pocket awareness has got to improve. Look, I mean, it's a little bit on all of it here. I mean, you have your Pro Bowl left tackle just Alejandro Villanueva just get worked over time and time again by Myles Garrett and sat in your lap. And look, the pass protection wasn't great. And then you have Rudolph pocket presence and not making quick decisions. You know, you roll all that in together. You had what happened against the Browns.
Yeah, you summed it up well. I mean, no element of this team's playing well, and no one's helping out the other unit that's struggling.
I mean, there becomes a part too where it's hard to judge the quarterback because of everything else that's gone wrong. In this thing, his wide receivers have been terrible, including Juju. Look, Juju's got to hold on to the football. That's the only issue there. We know they're not really terrible, but they've got to get it figured out regardless of the final record this season. I also don't buy the whole Munchak isn't here crap, but I offer this opinion. I do feel constant of lost change has affected them. First having Munchak move on and shuffling the old line staff, then bringing in a new running back coach, adding a new secondary coach. The misfortune, for lack of a better phrase, of Darryl Drake's passing, Ben being injured, the constant shuffling of players on offense due to health. The amount of adversity has been unreal. I don't think we've seen Mason's full potential and don't think we will this season. There's just too much for this offense to deal with going on right now. Yeah, I would agree with part of that, Wes. The future, the 4-INT game, it's whatever stuff happens. It's unfortunate and likely the worst we will see from Mason and the offense, but you move on. Having said that, if there's a repeat of this performance, then I start worrying about Mason's future potential, but at no point can we turn to duck. I do want Hodges to get long-term contract that allows us to have cheap, potentially good backup, but we try to let Mason build some confidence, which I think is severely lacking. I don't think he lacks confidence right now. I just think it's a lot of other things going on. Sorry for the long-winded email. I've been saving these thoughts for a while. Hope they make it on your show. Thanks in advance. Keep up the great work. Here's the thing. I've said it all year. You got all season to find out who Mason is, so that's what you're going to have happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to do a deep dive and kind of a scouting report on Rudolph after this season ends. But you're right, Wes. How he responds, Rudolph does in the Bengals game is going to be critical in that fight or flight response. I think he can play well. He's shown flashes of it, but how high have those peaks been? Not high enough, and the consistency clearly has not been there. So it's a big test against the Bengals.
Here's the thing, too. He's in a no-win situation when it comes to the Bengals because if Rudolph comes out and the rest of the offense comes out and they, is a 25 burger worth of getting excited over now?
Well, I know what you're saying. Because if he plays well against a bad Bengals team, people are going to say it's the Bengals. He's supposed to play well. But that's
what's going to happen. You know that's what's going to happen.
Sure, but I don't care what anyone else says. For me, if he plays well, that's going to be big for my evaluation of him, that he can bounce back and be able to respond in kind of those big pressure moments. So I don't care what the narrative is. I think him playing well is going to be a big positive for him, and also just playing well is better than playing poorly.
Thomas Pure writes in, hey guys, Tom from Ontario, Canada. Love the podcast, love what you guys do, super knowledgeable and relatable to us fans. My question is, with all the problems in depth at wide receiver, why not bring in a guy like Terrelle Pryor for a workout? Big body possession receiver. Tomlin was really high on him coming out. Let's see what he's got left in the tank. Surely anything is better than Johnny. 1 catch in 13 targets. Holton, no disrespect to Tevin Jones, but you're not at that level yet. What do you guys think? I think it's ridiculous, Thomas. Sorry.
Yeah, I know Tomlin liked him coming out, but that was how long ago? 8-9 years ago. It's an eternity in the NFL. So I much prefer that they signed a guy like Deon Cain over a guy like Terrelle Pryor. I
do too. Let's see if he can stretch the field and make some plays deep down the sideline and hold on to a few footballs. You know, that's been one of the big bugaboos here of not getting some explosive plays in certain situations here. These guys on the outside not winning these one-on. There were at least 3 or 4 balls that should have been caught in that game against the Browns. Now, does that supersede the interceptions? No, but it'd been interesting to see. Let's per se, Johnny Holton makes a catch in the end zone on one of them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Is there a stat that tracks team leaders, the teams that have the most drops at receiver? I'm sure that there is. Do we know where the Steelers stack up in terms of drops?
I'd have to look, but it's up there. Heck, PFF gave him, hold on a minute here.
Because I'm just curious for the year, not just from not the Browns game, but for the year where they're at in terms of drops. They got to be up there, but I don't know how high they would be.
Well, I'll tell you here in just a moment what PFF has them as drops for the season here, maybe.
I think the Washington Post, for some reason, they track this number, has the Steelers at 14 drops. That is tied for third most in the NFL, only behind the Bears and the Browns, who have 15 apiece.
That's obviously from the Stats Inc., right?
I don't know where they're referencing it from. First thing that came up.
I think it is from Stats Hosted.
Yeah, you're right. It's from Stats Inc. Yep. So they got up to 14. And I don't know for sure if this is updating this past weekend or not, but that's Steelers are top 3 in drops.
And I think I'm trying to see. Let's see. I think PFF's right in the middle updating something right now. So drop rates, wide receivers. Let's see if we can get this to load real quick one last time. I think they're updating their site and the data's not pulling up right now.
Okay. Well, either way, we can touch it back.
It's definitely high. I mean, look, they're having 3 drops a game right now, it seems like, right?
It feels like it. I think they got 14 for the year according to Stats Inc. The Falcons, best team in football, only 1 drop this year. I wonder who that was by. But anyway, yeah, a lot of missed opportunities. Even the ones that might not be considered clear-cut drops have been 50-50 balls. The team has not won nearly enough this year.
From Christopher Jones, solving the running game woes moving forward. Please rank the biggest reason for the very poor running game this year. No deep threat at wide receiver to open up the field and keep the safeties out of the box. DJ Chark over James Washington may have solved this issue. Connor's consistent lack of durability, regression of the left side of the line. Ramon regressed in 2018 and further regressed in 2019. Pouncey and Al have regressed from 2018. With that said, the offensive line is our best offensive grouping by a wide margin. Fixing the running game has to be the most important objective of 2020. Ben returning will not solve this critical problem. Curious how you guys think can be solved in 2020. I'd like to see James Conner healthy, fully healthy, trying to run the football again, like maybe against the Dolphins. That's A. Mm-hmm. B, having a young quarterback once again, and those receivers dropping balls on the outside is not going to scare anybody right now. So you're going to get more attention to the run until something happens. So it's literally a combination of a lot of stuff and as far as the regression is, I don't view it as a huge regression.
No, I think they're actually fairly similar to the past in terms of they're actually still been pass protecting well. I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment in just one game against Cleveland where it was just crappy all around. They've done well this year. I mean, they're still like the third least sacked team in football. And the run blocking has never been great to begin with. I mean, Villanueva's even admitted they're a pass pro team. They're built to pass protect. So it's just been magnified by having Rudolph, who's created a lot of sacks, and a lack of a run game where they just haven't had good runners who can create.
Right. I mean, and look, you make this running game better, and it's going to be tough to do in these final 6 games. I think it's going to change, hopefully a lot of what you do in the passing game here.
Mm-hmm. But to be clear, the line has to play better. They're not playing as well as they could or they should, and they need to help carry this offense is struggling in other areas. So I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just trying to say that it's probably not quite as bad as some people are making it out to be, but it clearly has to be better.
All right, from Todd, I think the last one, Todd Gensler. Hey, guys, really enjoyed your Friday discussion regarding Mason and continuing with him at the helm as the season progresses. I've always said we need at least 30 games to determine if he is who the Steelers go with for the future. Like you both mentioned, he was terrible Thursday. All quarterbacks have days like that, but how they bounce back will be the key. My question is, how are we going to know what we got in Rudolph this year with a shaky line, nobody at running back who can stay healthy, nobody to throw it to? It's all a jumbled mess. We had the 6 going into Thursday, but clearly the Steelers don't have an identity. Maurkice would have been nice to have Thursday night. Too bad that rule regarding the 3rd round pick. We probably won't have a true beat on Mason after this year because of the parity the Steelers face this season. We just need to enjoy the ride and remember what we had in years past. Todd, look, I mean, you would hope you would be able to see Mason do a few more things in these final 6 games. I've been a proponent all along since Ben went down that you need the full season to get an idea of what's going on. I mean, look at do you believe that who's the kid over there with the Bears?
Trubisky?
You believe he had a hip injury last night?
I didn't even watch the late game, so I'm not sure if he took a hit or something. Fans seem to say that that's BS, so I'll go with them.
Yeah, I mean, and how many games has he played?
Trubisky?
Yeah.
What's he going into his 3rd year?
I mean, I think you need a good 20, at least 20 games maybe to evaluate a quarterback, right?
The evaluation time has sped up because you got to you kind of know what you have with these guys pretty quickly. I mean, Trubisky's never going to be a top tier quarterback. He might not be as bad as he's been. So I think either way, the answer stays the same, where you're just going to move on. They're not going to give him a long-term contract, right? Even if he's playing a little bit better.
Who? Trubisky?
Yeah, Trubisky.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, so either way, you're moving on. So even if the guy plays a little bit better, I mean, what has the evaluation really changed in terms of the ultimate conclusion? No, he's not your guy. It was a whiff of a pick. You got to find the next guy. So I don't know. I think you got to go through this year. And with Rudolph in particular, I mean, might be your only chance to have a chance to evaluate him too. I mean, you don't have the luxury of playing him next year the way that the Bears have had, because Ben's still going to be the guy. So I think you can get a pretty good gauge after 1 year of where this guy's ceiling might be.
Here's what PFF has for drops. James Washington 3, Juju 3, Johnny Holton 2, Deontay Johnson 2. And that's just wide receivers.
All right, well, that's 10. I bet Jalen Samuels is at 2 or 3 alone.
Let me. Okay, here you go. Washington 3, Vance McDonald 3, Samuels 3, Juju 3, Johnny Holton 2, Deontay 2, Xavier Grimble 1, James Conner 1.
If my quick math was correct, that's 18 as a team for PFF. Do they have a league-wide ranking of where the Steelers stack up?
I don't see, but it's got to be up there.
Yeah, I mean 18. He's got to be top 5, worst at worst, at lowest. So yeah, it's just a lot of issues.
All right, so how does that play into your quarterback?
I mean, to some degree it does, but obviously when you see Rudolph struggle with his pocket presence or his accuracy, or because receivers have bailed him out for some plays this year too, or just bad decisions, poor processing, none of that changes based off of the receivers dropping 1% of his attempts. So it changes it a little bit, but really not that much. We're never going to say that a quarterback's going to be great if his receivers could just catch the football. It's not that black and white.
All right, let's see what else we have here. I didn't mean to be so loud there. I was coming out of a yawn. Maybe I'm boring myself here. All right, why don't we make that a stopping point right there, Alex, and we'll have the all 22. Hopefully, or we should have it by tonight, so we can go over that a little bit more. Not that I don't think we're going to find anything shocking at this point here, but I want to look at kind of some of the end zone views of Mason moving in the pocket. Look at a little bit about the running game, some of the blocking when it goes on as far as that concerned. This defense is the only thing that's going to maybe keep this team around, but it all starts with beating the Bengals this week. You got to take it game by game, beat the Bengals, then beat the Browns, and then let's see what's kind of happened in the meantime. There, we'll try to have, I think, Paul Dehner on Wednesday or Thursday to discuss the game against the Bengals. There, what else do we have? We'll have Mike Tomlin's press conference to discuss on Wednesday. Probably the initial better idea what the health of this team will be moving forward into the week as well too. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and the hard work that we do, you can go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Upper right navigational bar. Also, if you want an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar. For 1 calendar year, you can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com for $25. Alex, good job today. Enjoyed the conversation. We'll get back after it on Wednesday. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.